Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, we will take a look at the mind map for the lesson Study of Ammonia for Class 10 ICSE. First, let's see the properties of ammonia. It has a distinct and pungent odor which is non-poisonous, but when inhaled in large quantities, it can cause death. It is basic in nature, that means it has a pH of more than 7 and it is highly soluble in water. More than 700 volumes of ammonia can be dissolved in just 1 volume of water. Ammonia is also less dense than air, which means that it displaces air downwards. Now let's see the lab preparation for ammonia. First, we take a mixture of NH4Cl or ammonium chloride along with calcium hydroxide in a round bottom flask that is tilted downwards, and we gently heat it on a flame. Now, when it is heated to a sufficient level, we see water vapor rising and condensing on the round bottom flask. Now, why we have tilted the round bottom flask is because if this water vapor condenses on the top part of the round bottom flask, then it would trickle down the flask and come in contact with the hot part of the flask, thereby causing cracks or breakage of the flask. This is very dangerous. Now, the ammonia that is formed, or NH3, goes down the delivery tube connected at the base or the mouth of the round bottom flask and enters the CaO, or calcium oxide flask. Calcium oxide is a very good drying agent and it removes any of the extra water vapor present along with the ammonia gas. Upon drying, the ammonia gas rises up in the beaker and enters the second and the final delivery tube. This directs the ammonia back into another chamber which contains some more drying agents and is finally passed into a flask where it's collected at the top part. The air that is produced is collected at the bottom part, whereas the ammonia gas is collected at the top. Now let's take a look at another method for preparation of ammonia gas. First, we have a nitride version of a metal in aqueous form. Let's take the example of Mg3N2 or magnesium nitride. Now, we pour some warm water into the thistle funnel, due to which it trickles down into the conical flask containing the nitride solution. When this happens, a reaction takes place due to which NH3 or ammonia gas is produced. This ammonia gas rises up into our delivery tube and enters a chamber. Just like the previous example, this chamber contains some drying agent, specifically calcium oxide, as we have seen even in the previous example. Now, since ammonia is lighter than air, it's collected at the top part of this flask, whereas air settles at the bottom. Now, let's take a look at one experiment. We have a beaker with two delivery tubes entering it from the bottom. In one of the delivery tubes, we pass O2, oxygen gas, and in the other, we pass NH3 or ammonia gas. Now, at the top or just above the opening of the oxygen tube, we put a layer of thick cotton wool. This is done to remove any impurities or water vapor coming along with the oxygen. Now, when NH3 is heated or struck with a mass without oxygen, nothing happens. But once the oxygen comes in contact with ammonia, it burns with a green flame, which is distinct for ammonia. Now, let's take a look at some uses for ammonia. Ammonia can be used as a smelling salt in the form of ammonium carbonate or NH4 whole twice CO3. It can be used as a fertilizer in the form of ammonium chloride or NH4Cl. It is used to cleanse metals in the form of NH4 twice SO4 or ammonium sulfate. Last but not the least, it is also used to emulsify fats, greases, or remove them, and so on in the aqueous form. We have a very famous reaction called the Haber process, which is used to produce ammonia gas. We take 1 volume of nitrogen and 3 volumes or 3 parts of hydrogen, which react together under certain conditions to form 2 parts of ammonia. We need 450 to 500 degrees Celsius temperature for this reaction. We need a pressure of 200 to 900 atmospheres. We need a catalyst ion, but we must note here that we are using finely divided ion so as to increase the surface area. Simply writing ion would not be correct because it is not beneficial for this reaction. To enhance the functioning of the catalyst, use molybdenum or MO as the promoter. Obviously, ammonia can also be reconverted into nitrogen and hydrogen gases. Let's take a look at some common reactions that take place. We have ammonia plus hydrochloric acid gives us NH4Cl or ammonium chloride. Magnesium nitride, which is the reaction that took place in our example for the production of ammonia. Mg3N2 plus 6 parts of water gives us 3 magnesium hydroxide parts and 2 parts of NH3. We must remember to always put NH3 gas because without that the equation would be incomplete. One more reaction that takes place is the hydroxide form of ammonia called ammonium hydroxide plus an acid gives us salt plus water. We have HNO3 or nitric acid gives us ammonium nitrate plus water. Ammonium nitrate is never used in the production of ammonia. In this case, we take NH4Cl and not NH4NO3 because ammonium nitrate is highly explosive and a volatile compound, due to which it can cause many mishaps during the process. Let's see some more reactions that take place. We have SO4 or sulfate form of any metal, say iron, plus ammonia salt or ammonium compound NH4OH, ammonium hydroxide, gives us FeOH whole twice. This is a double displacement reaction as well as a precipitation reaction because we have FeOH whole twice as the precipitate and NH4 twice SO4 as our solvent or aqueous form. We have some important reactions like ZnSO4 and CuSO4 reacting with NH4OH or ammonium hydroxide. We have again 2 parts of ammonium hydroxide, NH4OH, and this gives us the respective precipitates ZnOH whole twice and NH4 twice SO4 or ammonium sulfate. Now these two reactions are very important because they have a special case. Now this reaction happens only when ammonium hydroxide is present in limited quantities. But what happens when we supply excessive ammonium hydroxide even after the products are formed? Let's take a look. ZnOH whole twice plus the product NH4 twice SO4. Now here we will add some more ammonium hydroxide plus 2 NH4OH. Now we might think there might be no reaction occurring here, but actually we get a complex substance called zinc tetraamine sulfate, Zn. Tetra stands for 4, so we have NH3 times 4 whole compound with SO4 plus H2O. The same would happen with copper as well. We could replace all the zinc with copper and we would get copper tetraamine sulfate. Now, there is one more experiment for testing if ammonia is present or not. We took a look at this reaction. NH3 plus HCl gives NH4Cl. Actually, NH4Cl is in the form of a dense white fume. This is why when we dip a glass rod in HCl and bring it near the mouth of this flask, or we bring it near the mouth of this flask, we would get dense white fumes since the ammonia reacts with the HCl to give ammonium chloride. That is one famous test for ammonia. We have some more tests for ammonia based on the odor, which is very recognizable, and based on the physiological nature. The physiological nature for ammonia is that it has an irritating and burning sensation, which is almost always distinct only for ammonia, and this usually comes for the upper part of the nasal passage and the eyes. It causes tears in the eyes. We have indicators as well. The most common indicators that work for ammonia are litmus paper, which works for almost any compound. We have methyl orange, and finally we have phenolphthalein. We do not use alkaline phenolphthalein, we use the normal version. Litmus paper or litmus solution turns red to blue. It would be more appropriate to say litmus solution because ammonia is basic mostly in the solution state. Methyl orange turns orange to yellow color, whereas phenolphthalein turns from colorless to pink due to ammonia's basic nature. Now, we have the passage of ammonia gas through copper sulfate as another test due to a famous reaction that takes place. We have NH4OH plus CuSO4 or copper sulfate, which is usually blue in color, reacts to give us ammonium sulfate or NH4 whole twice SO4 plus copper hydroxide as the precipitate, COOH whole twice. This precipitate is pale blue in color, after which we can identify that there is presence of ammonia. Now even zinc hydroxide precipitate and copper hydroxide precipitate have colors. This, as already discussed below, is pale blue. Zinc hydroxide has a white gelatinous color. FeOH whole twice has a dirty green color, and so on. To give examples of some more precipitates, we have lead hydroxide or PbOH whole twice, and we have FeOH whole thrice, that is ferric hydroxide, not ferrous hydroxide. Lead hydroxide is chalky white, whereas ferric hydroxide is reddish brown in color, similar to the color of nitrogen dioxide or NO2. Now, last but not the least, we can also test for the presence of ammonia using a famous compound called Nessler's reagent. When ammonia reacts with this, or when Nessler's reagent is added to a compound that might have ammonia, we get a brown precipitate, which is usually distinct for ammonia. Now, the formula for Nessler's reagent is potassium mercuric iodide, or K2HgI4. I hope this video is useful. Do leave your opinions or any doubts if there are in the comment section, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks for watching.